Hi everybody, and it's good to be back with you. This is your favorite teacher, Mr. Jacobson, coming back to you somewhere in LA, and looking forward to discussing what we're going to be talking about today. We'll talk about humanism, and we're going to also look into some of the innovations that were made in art during the Renaissance period. So let us begin. Okay, so one of the most significant ideas of the Renaissance was humanism. Humanism was an intellectual movement that started in Florence, Italy. Humanism taught that man was the center of the universe and that he had dignity and value. Humanism focused on individual worth that changed European people's view of the world. See, humanism is very different to medieval feudalism. Feudalism taught that you were just a person in a system where you had to do your part and you couldn't be your own person. And humanism taught that no, that you have value and that it was encouraging. They wanted people to succeed and to achieve. Rather than feudalism, they wanted them to just know their place and to stay there. Religion and the afterlife were still important, but the humanists felt that life on earth was also important. Again, feudalism, they believed that life was awful and that this was a place to suffer, and if we suffer well, then we go to heaven. And during the Renaissance, life is meant to be a glorious thing, and they still believed in heaven, but they believed that also you could do good here as well and be happy. The humanists felt that man had dignity and worth and could achieve anything. During the Middle Ages, man was considered to have a sinful nature. The humanists stressed that life on earth was meaningful and that man was not sinful. Humanism was based on the teachings of the Greek philosopher Plato and the Roman statesman Cicero. So here we have, you can go ahead and just look at that. You have paintings here, and these paintings, excuse me. Okay, so anyway, Masaccio's paintings were considered to be the earliest expression of humanism in the arts. Okay, so we have Petrarch, who's considered the father of humanism. Petrarch was a scholar and a poet who was responsible for the recovery of manuscripts and works of Greeks and Roman writers. He traveled throughout Europe recovering manuscripts of Cicero and other Roman authors that had been lost in monastery libraries. Petrarch, like other writers, he wrote in Latin as well. So Petrarch perfected the sonnet, making it one of the most popular literary forms. Petrarch also revived the writings and letters of the Roman statesman Marcus Tullius Cicero. Okay, so Dante wrote the Divine Comedy. The Divine Comedy is considered one of the greatest works of Italian and world literature. Dante was first to write in the vernacular. The vernacular means the language used in everyday life. Until his time, all European literature was written in Latin. In Italy, he is known as the supreme poet. Erasmus was a Dutch scholar, humanist, and theologian. Erasmus was ordained as a Catholic priest, but he never wanted to practice his priestly duties. Instead, he wanted to study more things like theology, classical Greece. He even was teaching at Paris and Cambridge. He studied at Paris and Cambridge. Erasmus was critical of some of the practices and doctrines of the Catholic Church. Erasmus sought to reform the Catholic Church. So here's this is going to be very helpful here. So this is the medieval thought or the feudal system, and this is humanism or more of the Renaissance thinking. So church and king, most important. Individual is important. Man is sinful. Man is good with dignity and value. Hierarchy of people's worth. Dignity and worth of all people. Life's pleasures must be avoided to please God. People can enjoy life and still be good Christians. Accept the human condition, encourage human achievement. Accept church doctrine without question. Each individual finds truth for him or herself. So here you have two great Renaissance literature writers. You got one Cervantes, and you got next is Shakespeare, and you can read up about them. So Renaissance architects used Greek and Roman elements to design the buildings of the Renaissance. Remember, the Renaissance began in Italy because people wanted to grab on to the better times of the Romanesque Empire and the Greek ways. So you have people like Michelangelo, you have Raphael, you got Leonardo da Vinci, and here are some of their achievements, including the Sistine Chapel. So go ahead and read those. And now we're going to go into innovations in the Renaissance art. So a few things that changed. You have egg tempera painting was abandoned, replaced by oil paints. Sculptures became more realistic and contrast to stylized relief decorations on cathedrals. Perspective and natural light introduced into art. Space and form handled more realistically. Sculptures became more common. So we're going to see a huge shift in a lot of what was popular in medieval times to based on the Renaissance. So here you have something that's very famous in art even today. It's called the linear perspective. And what that means is that, as you can see, the people in the front, and don't look at this guy, he needs some pants. Anyway, these people in the front, notice how they're bigger than the people in the back. That's the linear perspective of art. It's where the people in the front are front and center, they're bigger. People in the back are smaller to show that they're more distant. And here's another picture here. You got people who are nice and big. Look how big that is. And then over here it's not as big, maybe a little over half the size of this person over here. Another innovation was the religious themes and Bible stories were still important, but there's greater use of scholar themes as well. So Bible's important, but now they're going to delve more into also scholarship and more about secular ideas. More interest in the classical ideals of the human figure. Look at these statues. You have Michelangelo's David, which is probably one of the most famous. You have Donatello's statue here, and you have here is this Augustus Caesar? Who is this? Classical Roman sculpture. I think this is Augustus Caesar or Octavian Augustus Caesar. So this is what they originally started doing in Roman times, and during the Renaissance they're trying to recreate this. They're trying to take this and start recreating these as well to go back to that Romanesque look. So another one is that in the Renaissance, nature is more appealing in art than the more artificial stuff. So you just have just a picture of a guy, you know, basically plowing his field, something people saw every day, and they have the ocean and the ships. So you can see the city over here. So it's just a very nature-esque, rustic feel to their paintings. Here again, these people need pants. But you can see they're all in the forest area. It's just very nature. I mean, look. I mean, people aren't even dressed properly. Very similar to like Adam and Eve in style. And you got Greek and Roman mythology inspired by characters in the Renaissance painting here. So a lot during the Renaissance, because they're trying to bring back the Greek and the Romanesque look, they also painted people Greek and Romanesque. It's very Greek to have somebody kind of his body is showing, but except for his private parts, apparently. And that's very Greek-like. The Greeks believed that the body was a work of art and that it should be shown off. And so during the Renaissance, they're going to try to bring a lot of that idealism back into their paintings and works. And here we have, so the first experiments with oil-based paints, you have mixing of pigments with linseed oil. So you see here you see all these different shades of colors that they're starting to implement to give the dress different looks according to the shadows and etc. Okay, so we have Jan van Eyck, and he has his famous Madonna with the child reading painting. Van Eyck is considered to be one of the greatest painters of the Renaissance. Van Eyck and other painters of the Netherlands made oil the standard medium of painting. Until then, tempera or pigment mixed with egg was most commonly used. And so just the different ways in which they're now expressing their art, it's changing. That's innovation. With innovation comes new ways of looking at things. And so the Renaissance is going to be a whole nother way of looking at not just art and sculptures and anything like that, but life itself is going to be looked at as different and also is more positive than it was in medieval times. And then here we have the perspective in natural light. Okay, so also when they're painting now, they're going to try to incorporate how natural light maybe made the painting look. Because again, they're trying to get things to be more real. They're trying to, okay, what did it really look like? With the light shining through a window on somebody in this famous scene, how would it have really looked? You know, and this is probably a picture of Christ, Jesus Christ, before Pilate being tried. And so, you know, the artist is trying to, how would it have really looked with the sun blaring down and everything? So again, it just goes back to that realism. They're trying to make it look exactly as it probably was. And again, that's the beauty of the Renaissance, is the opening up of ideas and expanding people's minds. So go ahead and write your page summary, and guys, please be sure to write a full summary. And what I mean by that is, please do not just write one page and be done and you still haven't completed the whole summary. Don't write just one page and only talk about humanism, because half of this other website is on innovations and Renaissance art. So you need to have a complete summary if you're going to really benefit from this homework assignment and do well on the test. Until then, I wish you adieu, and we'll see you the first of the week. Bye-bye.